Hi, good morning everyone, or good afternoon, whichever it is. So obviously I'm not here. I'm recording this video for you guys so that you can pause, rewind, fast forward, do whatever you have to do. Last class, I know that today we are supposed to be working on sum of two cubes and difference of two cubes and factoring by that. But today, before we get started on that, I just want to focus on grouping a little bit more since it's not something that we were able to really hit off last class. So all I have right here, these are just the notes that we took last class. You guys can follow the blank copy if you want. We worked on trinomials pretty much in depth, but we didn't factor by grouping too much, right? So we ended on this problem right here. And it says, use this factoring method when you have a polynomial, and that is highlighted, but it should say 4 terms. And the steps is make sure that the polynomial is in descending exponent order, which it typically will be. Group the polynomials in 2 sets of parentheses. So I've got one set of parentheses right here, and then my other set of parentheses is going to group the last 2 terms. Now you want to make sure that whatever this sign is right here is grouped inside the parentheses. You're going to factor each parentheses using whatever method possible. Typically it is going to be GCF. And then you're going to write the factors in the following format of usually a binomial, just 2 sets of binomials. Alright, now over here what we're going to do is we're going to look at that 35r cubed minus 7r squared, and we're going to find the GCF. You guys were pretty good at determining that the GCF was 7r squared, so we divide 7r squared on both of them, which leaves us with 5r minus 1. Now our goal when we factor the GCF out of here is to get a 5r minus 1 as the remainder. Now if I take a look, there's no real GCF of negative 5 and 1 other than 1. And I know that in the past I've told you that the greatest common factor has to be a positive number, but this right here is going to be an exception to the rule. Because if I take a look, I have negative 5r, but over here I have positive 5r. And here I have a positive 1, but I have a negative 1. And my goal is to get these two things to match. So if I pull out a negative 1, then I've got a negative 1 out front. Negative 5r divided by a negative 1 is a positive 5r. Positive 1 divided by a negative 1 is a negative 1. And now all of a sudden, you have what's left over in the parentheses matching, which is exactly what you want. At this point, the 5r minus 1 gets separated, right? And I only write it one time. And then what's outside of the parentheses gets grouped together, and it becomes 7r squared minus 1, which is going to be your final answer for this problem. Now remember, if you have this written in the opposite order, that is totally fine. If you had 7r squared minus 1 in the first set of parentheses and then 5r minus 1 in the second set of parentheses, that is correct as well. Alright, so let's just try one more before we move on. Let's make it similar in nature to what we just did. Okay, once again I have 4-term polynomial. It's already in descending exponent order, so I'm going to group the first 2 terms together and I'm going to group the last 2 terms together. Always remember taking whatever sign is in the middle and putting it inside the parentheses. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to factor out a GCF from the first set of polynomial, or the first set of parentheses, which is going to be a v squared. And I have v squared as my GCF, and then I have 2v plus 1. Now here I'm going to have to pull out the GCF as well, which most of you guys looking at it will probably see a 5. Right? But if I pull out a 5 here, I get negative 10 divided by 5 is a negative 2, and I need it to be a positive 2. So seeing this right off the bat, I'm going to change that to be a negative. That way my GCF is going to be a negative 5. I've got negative 10v divided by a negative 5 is a positive 2v. I have a negative 5 divided by a negative 5 is a positive 1. And then once again, what's inside the parentheses match. So I'm going to group that together on the outside. And then I'm going to take what's on the outside and I'm going to group those together as well. So I have b squared minus 5. And that's going to be your answer here. All right, now we do have a few more problems that you guys can do. These problems are already on Canvas for you. If you would like to do them on your own, and then just email me the answer and I can check them for you, that is totally no problem. Okay, but for this, there's nothing even on that page. For this segment of factor by grouping, I only wanted to do just a few more problems just to help you guys out. In class, you guys seem to understand factor by grouping pretty well, so I'm just doing a couple more problems just to give it to you, just so that we have it as practice, but there are more practice items available online for you guys on Canvas. Okay. So after this, you guys can watch the second video on sum of two cubes and difference of two cubes. And then if you have any questions, please make sure to email me. Okay? Bye, guys.